Explorers, experts, and, on occasion, regular people make incredible discoveries every single day. Sometimes we don't hear about some of the ones that go under the radar discovered under ordinary circumstances by ordinary people. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 fascinating discoveries. New evidence about the Paracas skulls. The first skull we're discussing is the new evidence surrounding elongated Paracas skulls. These skulls were first discovered in the Paracas region of Peru, a desert on the south coast of the country. Julio Tello, a Peruvian archaeologist, was the first to discover these astonishing skulls in 1928. What initially stood out as the most unusual among the skulls was that they were the longest and most protracted skulls to have ever been seen before. Over 300 were found, dating back to between 2,000 and 3,000 years old. It wasn't until 2014 when preliminary DNA testing revealed unusual findings. It showed that they have mitochondrial DNA with strange mutations that has not been seen in animals or humans before. The elongated skulls were just the tip of the iceberg. Whilst skulls may become elongated due to deformities or applying force on the skull for a long period of time, this was certainly not the case with the Paracas skulls. A researcher by the name of Lama Zuli took note of more than a few characteristics that don't fit the norm for a standard human skull. The eye sockets were found to be much larger, the cheekbones were much more pronounced, and the skulls weighed 60% more than that of a normal human skull. He also looked to a specific point of the skull known as the foramen magnum. On a human skull, it's situated closer to the jawline, whereas it was closer to the back of the skull on the Paracas ones. After studying over 1,000 skulls, archaeologists also noted that the foramen magnum was smaller, leading to them to theorize that it's a genetic trait. This led to further research and discovery of the Paracas skulls, investigating every part in great detail. Experts eventually noticed that they were missing a sagittal suture, which is found on all human skulls and is a piece of tissue that connects the 2 parietal bones in the skull. Although not all Paracas skulls were devoid of a sagittal suture, most didn't appear to have one at all. This brought upon more confusion and intrigue to those involved in the research. As research continued, 3 skulls were used to sample DNA, one of which was an infant dating back 800 to 2,000 years ago. Hair and bone powder were extracted from the foramen magnum whilst wearing protective clothing to ensure the samples wouldn't be contaminated. The samples were sent to 3 different labs in Canada and the United States, and the geneticists weren't given many details to reduce the risk of creating preconceived notions about the skulls. The DNA results were nothing short of fascinating. They came back explaining that one of the samples found that the hair samples weren't a sequence found in human DNA. However, the other samples were showing they come mostly from Eastern Europe and some from Western Europe. When looking at the bone powder, they found that it originated from Mesopotamia, otherwise known as Syria. So, what does this information mean? Essentially, it tells us that human migration was more complex than what we previously thought. It also points to the possibility that people from Europe and the Middle East made their way to the Americas a lot sooner than we had previously held true. It may still take many years before experts are able to provide an adequate explanation for the unusual findings among the Paracas skulls, so we'll have to draw our own conclusions for now. Who knows, maybe this discovery will bring about more news and provide us with the insight needed to better understand the human race and our untraceable history. The Devil's Pool Haunted. The Devil's Pool is one of the most haunted places in all of Australia. It's located just outside of Cairns in the state of Queensland and has been a popular tourist destination for some time now. The Devil's Pool can be found amid an untouched rainforest near large boulders in the town of Babinda. To those who are unaware of the Devil's Pool's dark history, they may find the crystal clear water and streams to be a majestic spot to enjoy and take in the natural beauty. Unfortunately, it has been deemed by the Australian Aborigines as a dark and dangerous place where only bad things happen. The Aboriginal legend explains that a beautiful woman that came from the Yidinji tribe was married to a tribal elder. At some point during their marriage, the woman fell in love with a younger man and they began an affair. They ran off into the woods to start a life together in the hopes that no one would find them. However, the tribal elder was in a powerful position in their tribe and he sent search parties to look for them. Eventually caught and surrounded by the Babinda boulders, the woman threw herself into the water below and took her own life. She couldn't bear a life without her true love and saw no other way out. The Aborigines don't believe she ever left those waters and still remains there, looking for young men she can lure down below the water with her. What was first seen as a harmless legend or tale has gained some traction over time, due to the number of young men that have gone missing and mysteriously passed away at the Devil's Pool. All but one of the missing or deceased have been men. It's also believed that the pool is more aggressive towards men that disrespect the area. One young man kicked a sign that was placed to warn tourists and he slipped, falling into the pool and lost his life. While the number of deaths is still debated, there have been at least 17 young men that have gone mysteriously missing or lost their lives since 1959. But what does that mean? How could they have mysteriously lost their lives? For starters, onlookers have witnessed victims being pulled forcefully and held underwater. There have been other mysterious ways these men have lost their lives. A 24-year-old man named Peter McGann climbed up the boulder and jumped through a small gap into the water below. Police divers were only able to uncover his body after 5 weeks of searching through the murky water of the bottom of the pool. Another young couple was also taken by the Devil's Pool during a flash flood. The woman ended up surviving, but the man was never heard from after that. One of the most recent disappearances was a 37-year-old man, Mr. Hoffman, whose body was found in October 2020, 48 hours after he was last seen. The man was there with another young man who successfully escaped the pool unharmed. A strong current ran through and swept Hoffman away. With so many horrible incidents, the area has been boarded up with railings and large signs have been placed around the Devil's Pool to warn people from swimming or getting too close. So why do people continue to explore the Devil's Pool, despite its large sum of disastrous events? Maybe some find the risk exciting. Scientists claim to have found the first known extraterrestrial protein in a meteorite. This year, researchers were happy to discover that we may have uncovered a vital clue that points towards life elsewhere in our solar system. By using new techniques in analysis and research, scientists believe that they could have found a type of extraterrestrial protein that was hidden in the middle of a meteorite that fell to Earth only 30 years ago. If the findings are accurate, then this would mean that it is the first ever protein that did not come from Earth to ever be discovered. Over the last number of years, researchers have come across a number of meteorites and other bits of space debris that have shown to hold elements and materials that belong to what we consider to be the fundamental building blocks of life. These materials include ribose, amino acids, as well as cyanide, and this specific discovery showed signs that the meteor held amino acids. The research team was led by the physicist Malcolm McGeoch, who works for the X-ray source supplier Plex Corporation, and they aimed their search in discovering vital life-building materials in meteorites. By using complex, modern examination techniques, the team discovered what they believed to be a protein string in the meteorite known as ACFA 086. The apparent discovery of protein within the meteor that was originally found in 1990, it is just one more part of the growing tapestry of evidence of life outside of our own planet. An astronomer and chemist of CSIRO Astronomy and Space Science in Australia, who didn't work on the project, said, "In general, they're taking a meteor that has been preserved by a museum and has been analysed previously, and they are modifying the techniques that they're using in order to be able to detect amino acid inside of this meteor, but in a higher signal ratio." To summarize the team's findings, the research results showed that the glycine amino acid found in the meteorite was bound to other elements like iron and lithium. What they ultimately found was that glycine wasn't isolated from the protein, but was part of it. This new type of protein was dubbed protein hemolithin. While protein hemolithin is similar to proteins found on Earth, it's not exactly similar to anything found terrestrially here on Earth. All of this news and research helps to suggest that the structure the team found is actually a protein with an origin outside of Earth, possibly formed in the protosolar disk over 4.6 billion years ago.